Hey everyone, this is Kai with Big One Solutions. This video goes and shows C, my wife, and I at the range. We practice on distance shooting. We didn't go too far in distance, however, this is further than we usually shoot at. And most of the time, I'm not practicing my shots. However, I need to be going to the range more. Here, you can notice that C did pull the trigger, and when she pulled the trigger, it did not chamber another round. So that firearm is having an issue chambering the next round. However, that's solvable by going to another firearm. So as I'm watching this, I see myself shooting the Taurus TX22, just getting some practice shots in downrange. This is approximately 5 yards, not too far, but everything feels good. I'm practicing on my grip, get my sight alignment all together and just running through some shots. I even go and swap out a magazine, get ready for the next shot. I do at this point go and make sure all my firearms are clear. We had 2 Taurus TX22s on the table. On this part of the video, we can see that C is loading up her G3C, and she's starting to get some rounds down the range. This is about at 3 yards. Now, while she's shooting at 3 yards, she's mostly just getting in the repetition of making sure her sight alignment is fine. She's following through, putting everything all together, which is sight alignment, sight picture, the grip on the firearm, her stance, breathing, and then trying to control her trigger squeeze. Now, shooting at this distance, you're not going to see too many errors. However, as you start to get further in distance, the errors will be multiplied, which you'll see later on. Currently, where she's shooting is mostly in the center. We're starting to get slightly over to the left, but everything looks just about even, and anything else we can perfect a little bit later down the road. My G2C from Taurus. This is one of my first firearms. I do have a very huge love for this firearm. It's been doing great wonders for me. The biggest thing that I have a problem with this firearm is when I put on my new sights on there, it's a big orange sight in the front, and then in the rear there's 2 white dots. It's a great optic. However, it starts to go over to the left a bit, and that's why my shots are starting to go that way, which you'll see over time. But this is at 3 yards. Now we get to the fun part. C and I usually don't practice shooting at 5, 10, 15 yards. However, today is when we initially started. Now, with her shooting at 5 yards here, she's still shooting the Taurus GC3 or G3C. It's still doing wonders for her, but her impacts are starting to scatter a bit. What this shows is she's not implying all the fundamentals, and also she's starting to get fatigued, which is a huge reoccurring factor that's going to happen as you shoot more and more through your career of shooting. Now, she's got shots towards the left side of the target. She's got shots going a little bit lower. She's got shots going up. Now, every time she's following up, getting ready for the next shot, applying all her fundamentals, you can see that she's trying to take her time, but shots are taking a little bit more time to actually be fired. And there's no problem for this. Accuracy is what we try to imply and teach throughout class. We don't want you rushing, because once you start rushing, that's when you start making mistakes, and you can't be a great shooter until you have accuracy. Speed comes in later. As you see right here, this is one of my favorite parts, and I try to teach my students, take your time. We're at the range. If you need to put the firearm down and get a few seconds to recover, please do so. If you have to do it between every shot, that's fine. Unless we're doing an exercise or an actual drill where we're doing a sequence of fires, you can put that firearm down, take your time, and, get back in the game when you are ready. I'm not going to rush you, but she did handle herself well. This is when you start to see how effective having sights that aren't really centered is going to affect my shooting. So if you can see, I start my first shot relatively close, but still to the left of the target. I get a few shots above my X, my center of the target. However, then I start shooting lower. I start shooting more to the left. And that is because my front sight, my rear sights were starting to go more to the right. So I was getting more of a curve on my impacts going to the left. Now, I can shoot through that. They're still hitting center mass of the body. I'm not too upset with that. However, I do want everyone to make sure that their optics are centered well and they can shoot through whatever exercises they're shooting through. So here, this is just us loading up our magazines. We actually had 3 magazines for her G3C, 3 magazines for my G2C. They take the same mags. However, we were just loading up a bunch because we started doing drills. Here, I just want to put in, this is where I get my ammunition from, Target Sports USA. I save a good bit of money. I recommend them to anybody. We'll talk about it later. Here we are back at shooting 5 yards. I'm still shooting with the G2C. My impacts are a little bit tighter now that I'm shooting a bit more to the right. However, I'm still getting different inputs, and I'm not going to blame it all on the firearm. I did feel myself rushing on my trigger squeeze, and halfway through this magazine, I end up slowing down a bit. And then when I get to my next magazine, I reload and I'm right back in the game. And I think my first shot I did hit right center. So yeah, that's how that went. Just bulling through that. I wouldn't recommend shooting with sights that are off, but we're at the range. I didn't want to waste time. Here's C again, shooting her G3C at 5 yards. We honestly might be at 7 yards. We might be at 5. I think we're at 5. But yeah, she's getting ready to shoot some shots. Her impacts are, for the most part, still center mass. Not really a problem there. However, you see some more shots go up, some shots go slightly to the left. But honestly, I believe she is a better shooter than me. I will not take that away from her. Something about women shooting at the range, they have the patience. They're able to, take constructive criticism. It's something about them that makes them better shooters, and it could just be all the factors at once, but usually that's what I come around to. A lot of guys are set in their ways, and that's not a problem, but I think women are able to improve a lot more, and when they feel like they're making a mistake in the range, they're able to counter that or take their time and get a bit better. But yeah, she's doing a phenomenal job. She's getting a lot of shots on. She's taking her time. She's firing through. She's shooting when she feels comfortable. Her cadence is, I guess, familiar to her. She's not shooting too fast. She's not shooting too slow. She feels comfortable, and she's going right through it. She has a little bit of trouble getting this mag out, but that's fine. I will say you can see her nails are a bit long. Women, I'm not telling you, or anybody that has long nails, I'm not telling you you should cut them. However, if you're going to have a firearm, you should be practicing at the range with these nails, because you never know when you got to be putting rounds in a mag, and you never know when you're going to have to pull that firearm and shoot. This is when we hit 7 yards, and I really wish we had a 22 available. We didn't have any more ammo, which really was a bummer. However, I did make a plan to buy a bunch of more ammo. I usually use it with my students, so we ran out. It is what it is. But at this point, she is getting very good shots. Still pretty accurate. She noticed, that the shots were a little more off than they were back at 5 yards and 3 yards. However, she made do with it, and just cruise through. I mean, practice makes you perfect. So keep on going, keep on going. She drops the mag, very professional like, and hops right back in. I try to tell all my students to hit the slide stop when releasing the slide after inserting a new mag. However, some people don't feel comfortable with that. She doesn't all the time, but she does switch it up. Sometimes she'll try, sometimes she won't, but there's no problem with it. So whatever is comfortable for you, that's a preference thing. But she got back on target and was hitting everything she needed to hit, so I'm not concerned about it. Good job. Next time, I will definitely have to label these videos because I could be blind, but some of these videos we look like we're on the line, some of these we don't. Anyway, this is at 7 yards. I'm shooting the G2C. I actually got really upset because I watched one pull, and I didn't mean to watch the sights. However, I could see it. I wasn't on my peripheral, but out of the blurred vision while focusing on the target, I could see that my sight had moved, and I started messing with the sight, and obviously it wasn't going to do what I needed it to do and center itself, and I had the tools to center it. However, I used Loctite, I believe, and it's really good. However, it can get a bit messy, and I didn't want to do that at the range, and I didn't want to take out too much time for that. So eventually I switch out to my favorite, my G3 from Taurus, and I had a blast. I do have a red dot on it. The red dot is from, I can't even think of the place, but yeah, that's when I started getting a lot more shots in the center, but it felt better. So this is when we had our competition round. Usually when we're having a competition, we are very competitive. We make up some rules. I always try to be somewhat of a little jerk and give her a way of coming back to win, even if I'm scoring better than her. But I am an instructor, and she's more of a civilian than anything, so I should be scoring better than her. Well, we shot, this was at 7 yards, I believe. 7 yards. I was shooting the top half of the battleship. She was shooting the bottom. At first, we shot the three boats closer to the center. As you can see, we all missed. We all missed. Her shot went far left. I can't remember. I'm trying to look for it here. But you can see mine are 2 below the ship and 1 above. Her first shot was at right on top of the ship, and she shoots sometime a little bit later. But we had to laugh about it because that wasn't where we wanted to shoot. Now, I will say in advance, I gave her an opportunity to shoot my G3 since it had a red dot, because obviously I have an advantage with that. But she denied it, and I couldn't believe she denied it, but I mean, maybe she had something to prove, so it's whatever. We get a little bit further in this video. She's taking her time, and that's a beautiful thing about this. She took her time. We're at the range. We're not rushing, you know. We feel good about our shot, so we feel good about our aim on the sights, the targets, and our picture and everything, and then we pull the trigger very slow. With the G3, I couldn't remember how smooth it felt to pull this trigger and then resetting the wall. I couldn't believe it. When I was shooting, I was like, am I really ready to fire another round? And everything felt really good. Now, granted, I am using a red dot, so the accuracy is very, very well. However, I'm still having a good time. And I shot very well on this one. She lines up, And I think this is back at 5 yards, I believe. Yeah, so I think we're at 5 yards. We came in a bit closer, which was smart. You can see my first 3 shots hit each target on that first battleship. I can't remember if this is her first shot or second shot, but she hit, I think, all of them on this one. Or that one seems a little bit high, but she ended up doing well, to say the least.
You need a switch? You need mine?
For somebody that's shooting with iron sights or no optics whatsoever, that's pretty good. I mean, she's shooting with a regular front sight and a blackout rear sight. That's not as easy. It's great for self-defense, but when you're competing and doing further distances, it's not the best. But then again, she should be able to hit, a bigger target, which would probably be the whole paper at that range. So here we go to my second round. I'm shooting the 2 boats on the sides, on the front half of the poster. So I end up hitting both of these. We joked about it. I shot with her gun first. I took my time. I'm very, very patient here. I didn't want to miss, but I did want to go back to my firearm. If I would have missed, I probably would have stayed with hers, because now we can say we're fair. However, it felt good. It felt good to use her firearm. It really just was about taking your time and shooting within the arc of movement. So I hit my 2 on the left, and then I'm back on the right. I feel comfortable. Now, there's always going to be a little bit of movement in your shots, in between shots. Just try to find a common ground to fire on. Don't force it. Don't try to rush it. If you feel yourself going in a diagonal motion, then try to shoot when you get closer to the middle. And depending on the distance, you might want to shoot right when you feel like you're on the middle, and sometimes you might want to shoot a little bit right before you get to that point. But take your time, get to know yourself. I usually shoot slightly before I get to the target or wherever I'm looking to impact. But that's just how I feel about it. And obviously, again, having a red dot does help when you're shooting further distances. The reason why I have a red dot on this firearm is this is my duty weapon. So most of my training I prefer to do with my duty weapon, because that's what I do. I do security, armed, sometimes concealed. So I practice how I play with my firearms. Now, when it comes to my concealed carry G3C or my G2C, I still want to be accurate. However, hitting center mass is not too hard. And I don't need to practice for that as much when I'm shooting, further distances like this with my G3. So
that one all right down.
She's back at the G2 or G3C. She's doing very well. She's taking her time. She finished up. I think she only missed 1 target. And here we are at the last round. I have all 5 targets at the top. And surprisingly, I hit all of them. I actually didn't miss 1 target that whole competition. We definitely will be doing more competitions, but this was super fun just to, have some quality time with the wife and I, and also, training for us. We enjoy doing simple things like this, and it's business related. So not only is it a tax write-off, but it's a means to train and show, students, give them something to look at, know what I'm doing, know that, this is just for practice, or just because everything that I'm teaching, I am doing myself, and I'm trying to perfect and be better each day. So I hope you all had a great time watching this. You can finish up watching how C shot. She ends up using my firearm. Had a great time. She even says in the video, wow, she couldn't believe it was that accurate and that much fun. However, that's what happens when you have a red dot. Now she wants to get a red dot, and I think I'm going to have to buy one because I'm such a sucker for my wife. So, again, everyone have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the video. And you all be safe. So if you heard that correctly, she's feeling fatigued now. She's been at the range. At this point, we've been there for an hour and a half, a little bit over. By the time we finished at the range, it was already 2 hours. She's over this, but she's still trying to push through. She's doing her thing. She put the firearm down to, get the nerves out, shake it off a little bit. But she hopped back in the game. I gave her a little bit of feedback. She was leaning back just a little bit. You see her tighten up right here. Again, she puts the firearm down. There's no problem with that. She shakes it off. She tries to get herself, back in order, back ready to shoot. And she can take all the time that she needs. But by the time she, gets comfortable and lets these rounds off, she's feeling more.
What did you just do?
Assured of herself.
Was it already
I try to tell
formed?
everybody, put the firearm down if you need a break. It's okay to take a break. When I first did my training to become an instructor, I took multiple breaks until I had my sequence firing because we were shooting at 25 yards. I had never shot at 25 yards.